You're listening to the Living Adventures podcast, a lifestyle podcast hosted by AshhleyMielke and Victoriavance. Tune in for a new episode every Thursday to hear our honest conversations about topics like freedom, creativity, spirituality, luxury living, health and wellness, and above all else, building community.
We have real and unfiltered conversations inspired by our search to feel connected to people who give a shit about us, support our dreams, and understand our struggles. Our mission is to provide you with the tools, guidance, and motivation to navigate any moment in your life with the lens of your neurodivergent mind, with a community who gets you. Adventure on. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Living Adventures podcast. It's your co-host here, AshhleyMielke, here with
Victoriavance.
And we are super excited today because we are going to talk about how you can control your impulses and take action when you are a multi-passionate individual, something that Victoria and I both struggle with sometimes as multi-passionate individuals. Yeah, so...
I have a weird question. Wait, I'm going to interrupt you. Do you ever feel weird saying your own name?
AshhleyMielke. Yeah, sometimes. Like, who's
like,
that?
it's just like Victoriavance.
Yeah. Who is that?
No, like, I don't, like, when I say, like, my first name, it's only, like, half of it, but then when I say my full name, I'm like, like.
You know, and it's actually, like, even more weird for me. I don't know the right word, because throughout high school, everyone called me Ashley, and that was my name, Ashley. It's weird for me to say Ashley now because in college, everyone called me Milky, which is my last name. And so, like, there were so many Ashleys in my sorority that every Ashley just ended up being called their last name, like every single Ashley. So everyone called me Milky, Milks for 4 years. And even when I graduated, I still lived in Miami, so everyone was still calling me, like, Milky. And then, like, now I'm an adult and people call me Ashley, and it's just like, who am I? What is my name? I don't know.
Damn. Interesting. I had a class, I think in my graduating class in high school, there was like 4 or 5 Emmas, and I had a class that all of them were in, and yeah, it was interesting. Very interesting. But no, I actually, fun fact, I used to have a friend that was named Victoria.
Oh, that's
I just
weird.
always I feel weird saying my own name. Like, I feel like I say it weird. Anyways.
Hey, you know, I feel like it sounds weird when you say Ashley. And I almost wonder if it's weird too, because, like, when someone says your name, there's, like, a part of your brain that, like, lights up because it's like, oh, that's me. And then I wonder if it's, like, if it feels weird when you say it because that part of your brain lights up, but then you're like, that was dumb. Like, it was just me saying it. So then you're, like, shaming yourself. You're like, Ashley, and your brain's like, oh, and then you're like, wait, there's no reward here. It's just you.
Yeah. It feels really weird. Okay, anyway, sorry, off track.
Anyways,
I really need to know that. Because I go through that every single episode when I say my name. I'm like, inside, just so everyone knows.
Victoriavance. My name's Victoria, thank you. Have a good day. Anyways, well, today we're going to start off this episode with our hyperfixation, but Victoria and I realized we got some massive changes coming to the podcast because, one, we haven't been hyperfixating on things as much lately. And Victoria, tell us why that is.
Well, I kind of have this theory, and this is not obviously full science, but, like, with ADHD, like, the idea of hyperfixation and everything, I find when you bring in mindfulness and, like, a deep-rooted sense of mindfulness, we can lose hyperfixation because hyperfixating is, like, fixating on one single thing till you know everything, and it's like scratching your brain and getting to a deep source and everything. And it's like anything else that comes into your brain or in your perimeter at that point, you're like, does not exist. And you're like tunnel visioned. Where we've definitely moved into more of a flow state, which is like in mindfulness. And it's like you can be kind of like hyper focusing on something, but you're also mindfully aware of everything else that's still going on at the same time. And it's not as sense as a laser focus, but more of like a high beam light. So it's like showing down towards there, but there's also more light being shown. And maybe it's not a full 360, but it's definitely a lot more awareness in it. And I feel like I don't necessarily hyper focus as much. I more like flow state my way through things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And like a good example of this is, I think, was it on Friday that we were both working and like we weren't together or anything, but I remember I was getting our Shopify up because we have a huge announcement that we'll tell you about after this. But I was getting the store up and I was in the middle of it, and I just like, I worked on it for like 3 hours straight. And my brain was like, you're kind of needing a break now. And like a hyper fixated version of me would have been like, no, push through, all or nothing, get this whole entire website done. But I was like, actually, you really could benefit from taking a break. So let's go take a nap and go chill and go relax. And it was really funny because at the same time, Victoria was working on something and she texted me. She goes, yeah, I need to stop doing this and go do something else real quick. And I feel like that's the example of like what the flow state looks like. Like you can focus in on something and work on it and get it done, but you are in tune enough and mindful enough with what's happening in your body and in your space to be like, ooh, my body is telling me that it's not gonna like staring at this screen anymore and I need to go re-energize it in some kind of way.
And it's like we were kind of it was a task that's like administrative but also creative in a sense, and having to come up with copy, which is like very much not my strong suit, but it is kind of an Ashley strong suit, but not 24/7. You have to be in the right mindset and everything for it.
Totally.
And so it's like I wasn't fully there. I was still kind of sick, and it's just like I was trying to do it and I was like making a little bit of progress, but I was like, honestly, I can't fucking do this right now. I was like, I actually don't even want to do it, and I don't even care about the project right now. And it's not because I don't care about the project, but I just literally couldn't do one more thing. And I was like, guess what? I know Ashley wanted this done for Monday, and it's going to get done for Monday. When am I going to do it? I don't know, and I'm not going to press myself on it. And that's because I was able to step back, and I wasn't in an insane hyperfocus where I, like, when you're in a hyperfocus, it's hard to have mindfulness because you're so, I almost want to say, like, so out of touch with reality, because it's like your brain is in another world. And when you're in that flow state, you're like, actually, I know if I take a break right now, and even if this break doesn't look like a break to other people, or if this break takes longer than originally planned, it's okay because I'm going to be going and working on this in the back of my mind. And like us going hiking continued to like set my gears up for then on Monday being like, oh, I actually know exactly what I need to do. Let me do this, blah, 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 blah. And it came out so much faster because I gave myself that break, the grace, and the place to do what I needed to do to get those ideas. The ideas were not formative yet. And so I couldn't hyper-focus and execute it because they weren't ever going to be there. Yeah. I would have had to change it anyways.
Yeah. Fun fact, we went hiking 7 miles this weekend. I don't even think we mentioned that. But yeah, we went hiking 7 miles this weekend, and it was so good for our little noggins to... I told Victoria while we were hiking, I think like, and this is kind of what we'll get into with today's episode, is a lot of times we get stuck in our heads. And if you like know anything about the spiritual world, we have chakras, and your chakras line up your body, and the top of your head is your crown chakra, right? And that's like what connects you to your higher self and your knowledge and all that stuff. And I feel like we were spending a lot of time up in there, up in our head space, coming up with ideas. And for me, I had the worst headache for 2 weeks. And then what didn't happen is we never really grounded ourselves back into reality, which is funny because like that's kind of what happens when you hyperfocus, right? You're stuck in your head and you're never grounding yourself in reality. And, you know, sometimes whenever I was first like learning about mindfulness and stuff like that, I would hear people be like, oh, I'm so grounded right now, grounded. I'm like, what the F does that mean? Like, what is grounded? But it really means like pulling yourself back down and physically like feeling yourself in the real world, like having our feet be on the snow and climbing and like doing something physical with our bodies took us out of our head and into the present moment that we were in. And like, I feel like when we were hiking, the only thing that mattered was like one step after the other. We weren't like, we're going to see the best view when we get to the top. I hope we can get to the top so fast. We were literally like one step. How are we going to climb that rock? How are we going to get there? And then we're like, oh, look, we're at the top. And I was like, this is so cool. And it was such a good lesson for me to be like, oh, okay, yeah, one step at a time.
And it's like, it was really good also because it's like, we've been wanting to be in Sedona right now, like, and we're not in Arizona. And I'm like, I just keep wanting to go hiking, Ashley. I just want to go hiking. And then I was like, let's just fucking go hiking. It's 30 degrees. Let's put on some warm ass clothes. Let's put on some thermals and let's just go do it. That's all we want to go do. What's really stopping us? It's us right now. Like, technically, all of those mountains still exist. Am I going to go hike in the White Mountains right now? No, because I do not have ice picks for shoes, and I am not that equipped. But we can go do some basicer hikes, and when we're hiking, it's so helpful for me. And I say this, like, even if you can't necessarily go hiking or you're not insanely able-bodied to the point of that or fit enough, is like add a hill into a walk. Because what's going on is like, one, you're gonna like feel a lot more, but it's also gonna be like, okay, things are so much bigger than you. You know, like when you go into a big city, you're like, wow, look at this big building, and you realize how small you are. Is when you're on like top of a mountain, or you get to the top of the hill, or you're going up the hill, you're like, your problems are not as big. Like, this thing is massive, and this thing is just here all the time. It's okay.
And you're so strong.
Everything is okay.
And you're so strong. Yeah. Yeah. Like, even for me, like, I was like, my problems aren't that big, and I'm strong as fuck. Like all the hard things that I did, even if, like, Victoria's saying you don't have a mountain to climb, like, it's a hill. Like, you are so strong. It's not easy to walk up a hill or run up a hill or do
Bike
anything
up a
physical.
hill, skate up a hill, do anything, drive up a hill. Like, you'll hear your car go into more motions or whatever, or if you have a stick shift, then you'll have to like change gears and whatever, and you'll feel the difference.
Yeah, it's so true. And it just like really set us up to tackle this week with so much confidence, because we're like, we're so strong, and if we can like literally rock climb. We were rock climbing at one point. If we can rock climb, then we can do anything, is kind of how I walked away from that. And I was like, oh, I forgot how necessary like physical challenges are to build my confidence, and I really love that outlet.
And I always say this, like, if you're having, especially with ADHD, if you have like a meltdown, or you have like a time where you're feeling really insecure about yourself, or a project isn't going your way and whatever, take a break. And you know, all those small tasks around your house that you fret over all the time, take a break and go do one of those physical things so you can get from start to finish. And do one that's so simple, whether that is cleaning the dishes and just emptying the sink, because you're going to see from like start to finish the process, and you're going to see yourself complete it, and you'll see something being empty and clean. And that's it. You can stop at that. An example of that is I had one of those months and months and months ago, and I think I filmed it because then after I basically went and fixed the drawer of this drawer, okay?
Drawer.
Fuck the internet for making me conscious about that. Of the coffee table, because one of the sides broke, and I basically have to just like add a rack thing, a rail, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know. And I felt so much better after that. I was like, guess what? I fixed that. The problem's not that big.
You did.
Here's how to go fix the problem that I had. And so it's like when you're having like a mental problem, or like a problem on the internet of something that you're working on, whatever, and you're getting stuck, go do some physical small task so that you can bring that confidence back up.
Yeah, especially because like
game changer
in how our lives are and how many of our jobs are, like, we're never going to see a lot of tangible results very quickly, especially if you're working online, or if you're like me and Victoria. In a lot of our time as like CEOs and co-founders is idea land. There's not a lot of physical things that happen in idea land until you take action on them. Like, you need to see yourself accomplish goals that physically have results. And I'm not talking about like working out and waiting until your physical shape changes. I mean, like, if I cleared up my desk right now, I would be really proud of myself, because there's a lot of shit on here. And if I just cleaned it, I'd be like, yeah, I did that. I saw a change. That's really cool. I can make change. And it might not feel that grandiose to you, because you're like, okay, well, I just cleaned up my desk, whatever, but your subconscious is like, oh, we can make change. Like, we just made a change. I believe that. And so it doesn't have to be a conscious shift that happens, because your subconscious and your internal mindset is the one running the show anyway. And the more you can show it that you are strong and you are willing to adapt and do things, it'll start to believe you, and you'll feel that in the physical world when you're doing your mind thought stuff.
Especially when you're in a place of like, okay, this weekend this Monday, I guess, we launched merch, right? And so, okay, we took action, we launched merch, which we'll talk about in a minute. But then it's like, okay, like, what physical things can I go do? Because I can't force sales. I can't force anything. It's just going to happen. I can take the action, I can promote it and do as much as I want. But at the end of the day, then it's out of my entire hand and process. So what can I go do to like get myself what I'm craving, which is seeing some results? What small thing can I go do to see some results so I can feel and fix that hole that's kind of created inside of me, and like
that's
end
so
the stress cycle? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think, like, I even talk about this when I'm working with clients to sign clients. They're like, oh, my end goal is to sign a client. And I'm like, well, we can't really control if people buy from you, if they hire you. So let's pick a different end goal. Like, what do you think you're going to get out of signing a client? What feeling do you think that's going to create? And then we can figure out, like, how can we create that feeling in another way, right? Like, if me and Victoria are like, oh, if we get merch sold this week and we sell this many pieces of merch, we're going to feel this way. We're going to feel excited. We're going to feel proud of ourselves. We're going to feel accomplished. We're going to, like, dance around in our living rooms. It's like, okay, cool. Let's just embrace that energy right now. Like, let's go throw a dance party in our living room because we hit launch on our website. Let's go do something that makes us feel accomplished and excited. We're going to go cycling tonight. So, like, we can have those same feelings. We don't have to wait. And I think the minute you give yourself permission that you can feel the things you want to feel now, the less you'll see yourself attaching to results and feeling desperate to see them happen and come through and all those things.
They don't have to happen in a seamless thing because our brain will not see that stream of consciousness. Remember, we got use object permanence to the best of your ability because you can get that completeness in another task. Your brain isn't going to understand.
It's just like, yeah, we did it. I love that. Yeah. So, well, I guess all of the things that we've talked about so far kind of is like what led us into today's topic for the episode, which is really about how to control your impulses, find direction, and, you know, especially when you're multi-passionate. Because for Victoria and I, we have a lot of big plans for living adventures this year. I'm talking so many. We want to bring it into the physical world, not just the podcast. And I'm telling you, like, we've created so many ways to see you guys, meet you guys, partner with you guys, and the list is never ending of the things that we come up with. And what was it, last week that we were sitting in a meeting and feeling so frustrated because we thought we had this amazing idea and then it was crumbling down because it's not right anymore and now it has to be something different. And it's all good things, but we were so overwhelmed because we're like, why do we have all these ideas but it feels like nothing is happening, you know?
Mm-hmm. I know it's funny, looking back at that day, I'm like, I was so pissed at first. I was like, fuck! I literally wrote in my thing, on my notebooks, what are you? What are we doing now? What the heck? And I was just like, ugh! And then I was like, we're going through the grieving process because that project is going to look completely different. It's okay. Let's go feel all these feelings now.
Yeah. And it was
as you
frustrating.
know, I have to go feel all of my feelings and feel the whole spectrum. And so I did that night. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, it's okay. This is out of my hands. We're actually not going to worry about this right now.
Yeah, because basically what happened is we built an entire company and then we realized that it's actually two parts of two different companies or two different projects. And we figured out one piece of the project, but we haven't figured out the other piece of the project. And the other piece of the project is the one that we were most excited about. And so we were like, what the fuck?
And
like,
we were excited about it
rude.
Because it would make us money, which is, you know, like, who doesn't want to make money? But it also wasn't authentically aligned. So it was forcing ourselves to do something that we didn't even want and had to grieve that and everything.
I know. And it's just like hard because it felt like so right when we came up with it. But then if we thought back on our values and like what we want to create in the world and how we buy things, like we were like, okay, this actually isn't it. And we were like, oh. Which is sad, and it's so true. You do have to grieve those things. But then if we think about, like, oh, why did it take us so long to take action on it? Like, that's why authentically we didn't want to do those things. So sometimes, like, if you find yourself procrastinating on a goal, like, it's not actually you should shame yourself for being lazy. You should actually take a step back and be like, do I even want to do this? Does this even align? Like, is this even making sense yet? Because there's nothing wrong with it not. But that led us to a lot of frustration. And that night, I was telling my husband, Adrian, who is a neurotypical man. He's got that regular brain, if you will.
Here's the thing. I love all of you. Sorry, I have a cough drop because my voice, honestly, all of a sudden, just while starting talking, it just like starts cracking and it's starting to be really painful. So I'm so sorry for hearing the cough drop in my mouth. But I love you all neurodivergence. But sometimes this moment was a thing of like, sometimes you do need a neurotypical in your life. Okay?
Let me tell you how
it's really helpful, okay?
It's so helpful. Because Adrian got home from work and I'm like, I'm so frustrated. Like, this day was a complete wash. Me and Victoria sat on a call for like an hour and a half And then once I told him all the things we did in that hour and a half call, he was like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, that's just ADHD things. Because we were like, yeah, we built this entire event out. We built this entire second company that didn't even exist before. And then we like contemplated this other thing. We're talking about merch. We're talking about, I was telling him about my blog and about my podcast. And I had like this list of 8 things that we were working on. And he's like, all right, here's what I need you to do. I need you to calm your little ADHD brain down, because that's what's happening is your ADHD brain is like, ooh, look at all these things I could do. And he went, pick 2. And I was like, pick 2? He goes, pick 2 things. You need to pick 2 things. You need to give those 2 things the most that you can give them. And then once those have a solid foundation, you can go back to your list and you can add another thing. But all you're going to do is stress yourself out if you keep trying to make all of these things grow at the same time. You don't have 8 boxes of energy to give these things. Pick 2. I was like, pick 2. I was like, what if I pick the wrong 2? He's like, you'll find out. The only way you'll find out if it was the right one is if you give it a chance. So you need to give those 2 things the best chance that you can. And you know what? Maybe a couple months you find out it was the wrong thing. That's fine. You have a whole other list of things to pick from. And I was like, you know, this is the advice I would give someone else, and I'm glad you're giving it to me.
No, because literally I'm like, I tell my clients like, okay, where to start? I'm like, pick 1 or 2 things and go on it for like, you know, when it's like a smaller to-do list and everything, I'm like, go on it for like 10 to 15 minutes and you're going to figure out if that's the right thing to do or not. And like, so with like business ideas, it's like, okay, like 10 or 15 minutes is not enough time. Okay. Like let's expand that time frame to like, give it a month. Okay. Like give it 1 month at least. And like, give it your best shot on those 2 things for 1 month and let's see what happens. And then we can readjust and everything, because with business, you can't really say like, you know, just a few hours or even a few days. Like you really do have to give it a lot more of a big shot. And so then once you do that, you can reevaluate and see like what else, what's to do next and everything. And we kind of had 2 things in mind and we're like, okay, we already plan to like do these in the next like literally like 5 days. Let's focus on that. These are the easiest things to go forward, because, you know, we went to that event and we were like, this is so easy. We can expand this. We can expand this. And it's such a great mindset to live in. And it's what I live in 24/7. And is such a big thing with being neurodivergent. But at the same time is like a little kryptonite, because then you're just always having to make things always bigger. And it's okay. Things are allowed to be simple and things are allowed to be easy.
Things are allowed to be simple is like the message I need you to like carry with you for the rest of your life, because we want things to be so big so fast, especially like, I don't know, if you're an ADHD like person like me who's extremely creative, like you can grow and expand ideas in your mind in seconds. Like we could take this one event that we have planned for next, well, I guess it's today, the day that you're listening to it, the 2nd of February, but we can take that event and we're like, no, that event should be 300 people and it should be at this location and then it should lead into this retreat. We can make it huge. But where your frustration comes in when you're multi-passionate is when you're making it bigger than you can take action on right now, and so you feel stuck. And I swear to God, every time I've been frustrated inside of my business, it's because my head took an idea, multiplied it by 100, and I wanted to do the 10,000 version of it, but I couldn't because I didn't have the resources or the time to do that just yet. And for some reason, my all or nothing brain was like, well, now I can see the big version of it, so why would I do anything smaller? But you're allowed to do the smaller version of it, and all you do when you create that big version and you make it seem unattainable is you make yourself feel stuck, and that stuck feeling sucks, and the only way to get out of it is by taking little tiny steps to move away from the stuckness.
You know, with you saying that, it made a click in my mind. The American lifestyle is built on the idea of being a temporarily embarrassed millionaire, and I think there's something with like being entrepreneur mindset, or like maybe it's neurodivergence, I don't know what it necessarily is like when we can think on that big of a scale, then when we take those small steps forwards, something I used to do, I don't do this anymore, sometimes I still can get into this mindset though, is like it's embarrassing to be in that small step.
And
it's
so you're temporarily embarrassed
to like,
because you're working your way up to $1 million.
Yeah. And I think like those two things grab each other, because it's like, okay, I'm not in love with Jay Shetty, but good example is I actually don't really listen to his podcast. He has some good episodes, but I don't listen to every single one. But I also sometimes listen to him on the Calm app. He has the Daily J's is what it's called and everything, which I think are great ways to start meditating with ADHD because it's 7 minutes every single day and only 2 minutes of it are like quiet. He's talking to you most of the way through. So if you're really scared about like sitting in quiet, like you don't have to do it right away and everything. But he talks about, and I don't know where he talks about this, but I've heard it, is he's like, okay, when I stopped being a monk, because he used to be a monk, I think he was like kicked out, I don't really know. And he was like, so I started, when I got home and was in London, like with my parents, he started going to colleges and just speaking. First it was to a room of 2 people, and it was a room of 10 people. And then it slowly grew and grew and grew. And it's like, okay, but like at the same time, because I've like half built a business already, it's like embarrassing to, like throw that all away and go talk to 2 people again. It's embarrassing. It's like, well, why'd you ruin something you already have? Like, what the hell is happening? And it's like, no, it's okay. I left that for so many reasons. Yes, this is what I want. I don't have to be embarrassed that only 2 people are going to listen to me. I have 2 fucking people listening to me.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Be proud of that.
Yeah, no, it makes so much sense. And it even makes sense because if you think about like people who do start businesses, like if we're talking about like you're a temporarily embarrassed millionaire, a lot of us leave like good situations to get something better, and like, yes, there are a lot of businesses started out of desperation. People who have lost their jobs right now with like the current climate of the economy are probably seeking to start businesses because that's the only thing that maybe they can do right now. But a lot of times, like, we come from really awesome careers to like go back to square one, it feels like, and be like, okay, well, now I'm gonna have to have no one paying attention to me, talking to no one, starting a social media channel, selling something. And so that makes a lot of sense. And even for us, it's like, oh, like an event with just 15 people, like really, like that feels kind of weird. Whenever I've hosted events online that have had 400 plus people, like really I'm going to go back to like not even knowing if one person will sign up. Like that's insane. And so it makes a lot of sense, and it can put a lot of fear around taking action because you're like, I can't do it this small, I have to do it big. And I think the question you have to ask yourself when you're like, I'm embarrassed to do it this small, or I'm embarrassed to put myself out there and get nothing, is like, what are you making that mean about you? Like for me, if I'm like, okay, well, what if no one comes to that event? Okay, no one comes. Like, what do I make that mean about me? Am I making it mean that I'm a failure, that I'm dumb, that I ruined something good and I always ruin something good? Like, you have to find the narrative that is driving the story you're telling yourself, so that way you can overcome it, so you don't have to keep wondering why you're not at the big thing, but you can take the steps to the big thing.
Yeah, and it's like something I thought through was like, okay, why am I scared to like shift my audience or whatever? Is like, say that I post about this and it's like, okay, why'd you run an event with maybe 15 people can come, but then only 4 show up? And then I post about it to my 80,000+ followers on TikTok, where I've had events that, 400 people sign up for. Isn't that embarrassing to like then run an event that like only 4 people show up to? Like, why don't you just do it online so that more people can come and you can include more people? Because I didn't want to, and I'm allowed to do what I want.
And that is like why it is so powerful to understand like your intuition, who you are, what you want, what your values are, because you know that the reason you're hosting an in-person event instead of conquering 400 people with an online one that you've already done before is because you're craving connection, you're craving real human interaction, seeing people face to face, being in their energy. Like that is what you're desiring, and other people are desiring that too. And so even if someone were to come in your comments and be like, really only 4 people showed up, and you would be like, yes, and it's everything I wanted. Everything, even if 1 person showed up, it was everything I wanted, because all I wanted was to be in contact with someone in the real world, not looking at them through Zoom. And so if you look at it from that way, like if that's the goal, if that's the intention that we had in creating an event, then it doesn't matter what happens or what people say, nothing can sway us. And it also leans us into getting closer to having a bigger event, because the same thing is true if we have a 400 person event or a 15 person event. The main goal is we have people that we meet in real life,
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I know we've talked about this in the past where it's like, it was easier for me to be like, give myself permission to be an entrepreneur because I come from a family with a lot. There was something that when my mom became a therapist and started her own practice, that I saw my grandfather, who used to be an entrepreneur, he like quit everything and retired now, but he said to my mom, can't you just do one thing and stick to it? And I didn't realize until this weekend that was sitting in my mind of like, you already built something, just fucking stick to it. And it's because he lived in a very different world. I mean, obviously, he's still alive, everybody. I call him Pepe, or Peped for French people. But he lived in the world of like Great Depression and everything. And it's like, if you can find something and you can make money, then fucking stick to it, because you don't know what else is going to come.
Yeah. Very
I am so thankful he went through that, because I am able to say, I understand you went through that in that time, and I understand you're not going to be able to understand what I'm doing right now. And I have a hard time talking to him. I have a hard time talking to a lot of people in my life about what I'm doing right now. And that's because a lot of people don't understand. And it's not my job right now, while going through this, to make everyone understand. I don't have enough in me to do that. I can do that at a later date if I so choose. But I need to focus on all the energy I do have and put it towards that action right now.
Yeah. And you know what's really interesting is like this whole episode is like about how to control your impulses and find direction. And a lot of people who are not entrepreneurs would say like pivoting your business model, doing something new and wild, like creating new structures, like that's impulsive. I would argue like that's not the impulsive piece in our business. What's impulsive is letting our minds run wild. So it's not to say you shouldn't pivot, you shouldn't try new things, you shouldn't allow your multi-passionate self to have big ideas and dreams about the 45 products that you want to launch, but you need to control the impulsive mind that's going to tell you it all has to happen right now, because that's where you feel stuck. Controlling your impulses really looks like saying, wow, look at all these crazy, incredible ideas I have because I'm so passionate about all these different topics. I'm going to pick two, and I'm going to control my impulses by picking two, giving them my all, and then building from there. And that's like why a lot of times I tell clients like who work with me, whenever everyone's like, pick a niche. I'm like, you don't have to pick a niche. First of all, like your brand can be yourself and you can build a brand on yourself, but sometimes that feels really overwhelming when you're multi-passionate. So do pick a niche, like pick one niche. It doesn't have to be the right niche. You can try it out for 90 days. If you hate it in the first 10 days, change your mind, do something else. And that's like, it's okay to follow those impulses, but don't just sit on 45 ideas and feel like analysis paralysis because your brain doesn't know where to go and it doesn't feel like there's a right path. There is a right path. And even if it turns out to be wrong, there were lessons learned that were going to happen no matter what path you chose.
I love that you brought that up, because I saw a TikTok the other day of like advice for 20-somethings from, I don't know what age she was. And she was like, guys, the niche trend is out. It's all about you. And I was like, wait. And I was like, I am all here for that, okay? I am all here for like no insanely tight, small niche and everything. I also want to say we don't want to completely get rid of it, because in a sense of it will make you really confused. I think some great advice for anybody, any age group or anything, honestly, is you are always allowed to change and grow. Reminder, everybody, I am 24 years old. I would never expect actually I would have expected myself to do this when I was younger. So, but I also didn't really, I think the version of me now I thought was like in my third, actually I have no idea. Anyways, back on track, is I'm 24. I'm allowed to make mistakes. I'm allowed to do everything. Why do I have to be perfect at 24 years old? Why do you have to have your entire life figured out at like 22? Why do you have to figure out everything at 18? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I saw a good TikTok at all.
No, it doesn't matter at all. You're so right. And I saw a really good TikTok today. It was some woman in her 50s.
I saw that one too.
The one where she's like, you're never done. You're never going to be done. You get married, you get the dream job, you're 40, you're 50, like your life is never going to feel complete. That aha, I did it moment, because you're never going to stop living. And so like, there's no reason why we're ever going to stop changing, evolving, growing. Like this 50-year-old basically said, you're never going to have your shit together. You're always going to be realizing new shit, trying new shit, diving into new shit. She didn't say shit that much, but it felt right. And so it's your job to just follow your passions, even if there is multiple of them. But where you have to check your impulses is when you allow your passions to overwhelm you and stop you and make you feel stuck. Because the things that you're passionate and excited about shouldn't be making you feel stuck.
Because back to mindfulness, and this is what my solo episode was about on Tuesday, so if you haven't checked that out, go listen to that, is something that like she really hit on without necessarily saying it, is like, you know, she kept saying like, okay, you know, you're gonna get married, and then you're gonna have the babies, and then you're gonna do this, and you're gonna like, it's no if then. It's their if then does not exist. If you cannot create it now, then will never happen in the way you thought, because you are always going to be rushing to a next milestone, a next goal, a next whatever. You know, it's like you get married and you're like, okay, I have to have kids. We've talked about this before. After like you get married, everyone's asking Ashley, when are we getting some babies? When are we getting some grandkids and everything? And it's like, that's not even in her stream of conscious right now.
No, man, I got so much to do.
We've got so much stuff to cover, and it's like, you do not need to go after these end goal destinations that are sold to you by a capitalist system to do certain things. The idea of having it together, that is an idea that is sold to you. It doesn't exist. You get to choose whatever you feel right now. And if you think you're only going to be happy if then you're never going to be happy. You need to be happy and enjoying whatever it is now.
True. And something Victoria and I talked about on our hike this weekend was like perfectionism, and how, like, for me, my idea of perfectionism, ask yourself, if you're a perfectionist, what does that mean? For me, it's having it all together. But even that is very elusive. Like, what does having it all together mean to you? So ask yourself that question. If you're like, well, I need to pick the right thing because I have to have it all together, or I can't take action until I have it all together, like, what does it mean to have it all together? Because for me, having it all together means I'm proper, and I have the right clothes, and my hair looks like the right way, and I'm not too loud, and I have the good ideas, and nobody gives me negative feedback. Like, that world does not exist, and I don't want to live in that world because it sounds very stuffy and not very fun. And so you have to like define, what does put together mean, or having it all together mean, and like, do you even want to live in that reality? Because probably you don't.
Okay, so I saw a TikTok this morning, and it was about this girl. She worked at a country club and everything, and she was like eating a salad, and some man like comes up to her and goes, "You can always tell by the fork." If you don't understand what that is referring to, it means that your fork was on the right side, because in traditional eating, think like plate setting and everything, is your fork should be on the left, and it should stay on the left, and like you use them outward and you work your way inward, if anybody's not upkept to this. When I was watching that video, and she's like, you know, the reason I'm sharing this information is like so that I can help people feel more comfortable in these settings if you didn't grow up. And like, she went and talked to that guy after, because she was like, what do you mean by that? And he explained it, because he grew up in a poor setting, and like learning that stuff made him feel a lot more comfortable in that setting. This could say a lot about me, and I understand all of that stuff, and like I would do it, but I also hate the idea that you have to fit in like that, and that you are an outcast if you're just using the wrong fork. And it creates a societal kind of like hierarchy in that thing that I don't like, and I'm all here to break. And I mean, as everyone knows, I don't like doing things any way somebody tells me to do them. So I'm just going to do them the opposite way that you say, because I just want to piss you off. But you do not need to fit into that idea to make it or to do that. And so it's like, if you keep saying like, I need to have it all together, and your idea is doing it like exactly like everybody else, if you want to do it like that and you actually fundamentally do, that's fine. But if you don't, you don't have to. You don't have to fit in and do it and look exactly like everyone else. It's okay to be different.
Like you just said, like, all the rules that have been created are to keep people out. Is to make sure certain levels of life are inaccessible. Like, I even think, like, I don't remember exactly this, like story behind this, but I'm pretty sure white after Labor Day, like not wearing it, was because the rich people wanted to know who was rich and who wasn't. So if you were wearing white after Labor Day, they knew you were in a lower class because you didn't know this secret that they all had created to make sure that they knew who was at their level.
Yeah,
like,
also the idea of the whites is just like how often can you get laundry done and like buy new things and everything to keep your whites as white as they can be, because whites get dirty.
Yeah.
White became the new purple because purple in like the silk trade days was the most expensive thing. Mm-hmm. Now it's white to keep your whites white.
Yeah, and it's just like, we don't need all that. Like, I don't even want to be a part of people who give a shit about what your clothes look like or what fork you eat. Like, what kind of person are you? Like, are you a good vibes kind of gal? Like, what's the vibe?
That's just to keep other people out, and that is a form of gatekeeping. And if you need to learn that stuff so that you can feel comfortable before you then go and do different things, that's okay too. Like, if you learned all of that about like what I just said, like eat on outward, your fork needs to be on your left and everything, I'm happy to give that knowledge. I've worked at that. I also had to go to a table manner school when I was younger, and everything. I unfortunately got trained in all of that. My grandparents are such freaks that they trained the dog to eat at the table.
Oh, yeah, I remember you told me that.
Yeah. Ooh. Like, the dog ate out of, like, a bowl at the table.
One of the really good pieces of advice, the dog thing is weird. But, like, what you're saying, like, if you have to be in those situations and you want to feel comfortable, it's fine. One of my high school teachers always taught me to play the game. And, like, can you believe, like, in 9th grade, my high school choir director was like, you need to learn how to play the game. Figure out what your teachers want from you. Does this one care about tests, interacting with them, answering questions? When do they want things turned in by? Like, figure out the rules so you can play the game to get what you want. And there are times in your life where you have to play the game to get what you want. Sure. Like, maybe if you're going to get an investor and you're going to a dinner and you want to look like proper so that they want to invest in you, maybe. But then also I'm like conflicted because I'm like, but like, what if you could just get everything you've ever wanted by doing it whatever way you want? Because there are people who do that, who, like, if we think of the Adam who owned WeWork and he founded WeWork, like, he never wore shoes. He never wore shoes when he was speaking at events, when he was meeting with investors at his WeWork offices. Weird. It's fucking weird. But this guy got like $40 billion invested into his company or something ridiculous, and he never had to play the game. So, maybe you don't actually ever have to play the game, and that was just something that was impressed upon us.
I get conflicted on it, and I think I'm in the sense of find your middle. What games are you comfortable with playing to get to the top, and then if you want to change, you can? Or what games are you not willing to play at all, and you're going to go do differently, and you're going to speak out about it constantly? And you do not have to do it all one way or the other. That's the all or nothing you're thinking. And so it's like, what is your middle ground approach? So it's like,
totally.
Maybe I will know my table etiquette, but I'm not going to dress the way they want me to. Or maybe I'm going to dress the way they want, and I'm going to outright be annoying at the table and do the wrong thing with your napkin, aka you're not supposed to put your napkin on the table. You're supposed to put it on the chair and everything. And it's just like all of these different things. There's so many ways to like change it, and you get to choose how you do that and what you're comfortable doing. And so don't think that like the only way is to, play the game to get to the top. Like, what rules do you want to break on the way up?
Yeah. And this even goes for like content creators. Mm-hmm. Like, the game could be listening to what the algorithm wants you to do when they wanted to post, what trending sounds like. You actually don't have to play that game. And my toxic trait is that, have you heard about how like TikTok has like employees who hit a heating up button, and when they hit the heating up button, things go viral? Yeah.
I always suspected that because like TikTok has transitioned to act a lot like YouTube, and YouTube has that, which we learned about like 10 years ago with the Jake Paul video, that with the people in the dead forest or whatever in Japan, is like people chose for that video to go viral. Yeah. They could have suppressed that video, and it's like they have the choice to that, and it's like they will suppress a video if they don't want to. Like, they will push a video if they want to. That makes complete sense to me. I don't know why I'm confused why people are shocked. That's my opinion. But
No, I love that. I had a feeling that was the case, but now that it's confirmed, for me, I'm like, okay, now when I'm posting, I'm just gonna like think about magnetizing my energy so that way when this one random person with the power to make it go viral watches it, I'm just gonna like be so bright and beamy that they're like, oh wow, we love Ashley. Like that's my new thinking. Is like I'm gonna be so magnetic every time I post that they're gonna hot. But anyways, you don't have to play that game is what I was gonna say. That's my toxic trait, is like now that I know there's a human involved, I feel like I can manipulate it into like getting what I want. And like that could be the game that you play, but you don't have to play the TikTok game, the content game, the what your followers want game. Like you get to do whatever you want.
Well, there's also like, I saw a video talking about this, that like brands might be paying TikTok to like get some of their sponsor posts pushed higher.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's like, I don't know if that's like a little conspiracy, but I found that very interesting. But I feel like it could be true.
Probably very, very true. Anyways, well, is there anything else?
Things truly don't matter as much as you think they do. One, I want to like bring that back as like, okay, choose the battles that you're gonna fight, but also remember that like we make these things so big in our heads. And remember to connect to the physical world, and remember that like, guess what, like when you're connecting so high and you're like, these ideas are so amazing and everything, and I'm not here to like knock you down, but like take it down, take yourself to the world and be like, okay, I can go take action on this. Because it's like when we're up in that world, it's so scary. It's amazing but scary at the same time. There's so many ideas. How do you even start and everything? Come to the ground and be like, okay, what's one thing I can do today? Which I feel like I keep saying in a lot of episodes.
I know. Well, it's kind of like where we're at right now.
True.
And I think what you're saying is so true. It's like we get in our heads, and I think the head is beautiful. I don't think there's any scary stuff there. It's when you try to start to bring it down. It's like for me when it gets like to my throat and it's like, okay, time to speak this into the world. I'm like, nope. Back in the head. It's real cute up here. It's real safe in my head. I can dream bigger. I can see it go all the right way. And then you try to bring it down. It's like, oh, what if we just kept pushing it back up? Because the real world's scary. But you have to take that action to like drag it down. Not drag it, but you know, like,
yeah,
pull it down to the ground and take the step. Like, take the step, whatever that means. If you're listening to this episode and you need to take action, take a step.
It's a really good way of putting it.
Thank you. Well, anyways, that's how you control your impulses. Your impulses in this episode are really just all the millions of ideas you have in your multi-passionate head. And the way you find direction is literally by picking two things and going for them. And don't worry about picking the right things.
Y'all want to know a great example of this? Because obviously we need more examples. I actually don't know how much I talked about this on the episode, but I was having a hard time with public speaking. And pre-pandemic, I didn't have that much hard time public speaking. And so I was like, why am I having so much harder time? And it's because on the internet, I don't have instant feedback. And so being in person, having that instant feedback and like not having the fear of like, am I going to like forget something to say because people are listening to me so intently that they're going to ask a question if I forget something. And so it's not something I need to fear over because it's just going to be a normal conversation. And so that's another part of grounding and having like instant feedback and everything. Very helpful. And I'm actually not scared of speaking in person. I just actually am scared of speaking on the internet.
Wild yeah,
story.
It's like, yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense because like you had this fear and it was something you hadn't done before, like public speaking about the topics you've been talking on the internet, and it's easy to catastrophize that in your head, but you took a very small action, was like go to an event that's not yours, that's a very small number of people, and just talk and see how it goes. And that tiny action is now the thing that's building your path to one day speaking in front of thousands. And maybe you don't want to go speak in front of thousands right now, and maybe you do, but either way, like because you took that small step, it's leading you to the next thing, and that's what's going to happen.
And the second part of that is I was finally in a room of not necessarily 1,000,000% like-minded people, but I was closer than I'd ever been before. And I'd always said I hate networking. And then Ashley told me, she's like, I hated networking. And then I went to the Almost 30 event or whatever, and you loved it and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, interesting. But then that was like the first time I actually like then got to like put that into practice. And I was just like, it wasn't 100% no, but it was the closest I ever had been. And I was like, oh, the part I didn't like about networking is I didn't have shit to fucking talk to people about. And, you know, they're like, you know, ask them questions about things that you're like working on and everything. And I'm like, I don't like what I was working on, so I didn't have shit to fucking say. Yeah. I just needed to be with better people, but I didn't understand that at the time. And I wish that was told to me.
Yeah, that was my best.
That would have been a great
tip.
sign. To be like, hey, no, you're actually not as socially anxious as you think you are. You're just with the wrong people.
Yeah. Yeah, because for me, like when I was working in higher education, like every meeting I would go to would be very polished, professional, corporate-y, like collegiate, business partners, so boring, talking about such boring things. So like when I talk to them, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk to you about. And I was like a marketing person, so like they looked at me as like a little piece of garbage over there, not really like a intellectual human who is worth talking to, is the vibe I got. But then when I went to the Almost 30 event, it was like literally just a bunch of people my age, maybe a little bit older, all who valued spirituality, wellness, personal development, all my freaking core values. And it's like I could sit in a row of 3 strangers and we were all talking. Like we had known each other for years about deep topics. And it's just like when you get in the room with the right people, there isn't small talk or BS that has to happen because you guys connect on a deeper level. And that, game changer. That's networking.
And I thought like a while ago I was thinking, I was like, okay, like is it because I was just speaking to neurotypicals? And then I was like, no, the design world is full of neurodivergence. Like, and I just didn't have the things in common to them because like the design field is very male dominated. So things that like they would talk about is things I wasn't interested in, like car design and like, that's a really basic example, but like engineering of like a gun. Like we could go to like a Smith & Wesson like operation if we wanted to. And it's like, none of that is interesting to me. Like, I don't care, but they're like, oh yeah, did you see? And then this part is made in this way, and this way, this way. And I'm just like, I don't care. And it's like, I just didn't want to be with those people. That's it.
Totally.
It wasn't a place for me. And
but you'll never find those things out if you don't try new things. That's what I was saying.
It's through my head.
Yeah, you'll never find those things out if you don't try new things. And I love looking at our hiking example as a great metaphor of like, when we go hiking, our goal is like, yes, we want to get to the top, but I don't know about you. Like, I literally don't know when we're getting to the top. I don't know how far away it is. I don't really care. I know the view is going to be cool, but the views are always cool along the way. Like, we made many stops where like, wait a minute, look back. Wow, that's crazy. Kept going. Wait a minute, look at this. Wow, that's insane. Kept going. And it was always like a one foot in the other kind of situation. And if you can take that mindset and apply it to all these amazing multi-passionate ideas that you have and stop caring about what the top view looks like, you're gonna realize your view along the way is really cool. Like, for example, Victoria's first step was like this event where she realized the view along the way that was incredible was the fact that she can talk to people, they can ask her questions, talking is super freaking easy, and she's not like, oh well, I just really wish I was already at the top where I was already speaking at a stadium and at Harvard. And like, no, you're not crying that you're not doing that. You're still in the like, wow, this whole thing is so cool. And like, if we can look at our lives like that, that literally is mindfulness, is like being in the now, and it will make you so much happier.
That's really true because like when we're hiking, I don't think about like even like it as like a milestone, like, oh, I'm gonna hike this mountain. Like, even if something happened one time and we didn't make it to the top, I genuinely wouldn't even care because I'm like, I'm just gonna be doing this thing and I'm gonna enjoy the part that I am. Did I know that we were gonna have to like foot and hand climb up a rock? No. But like when I got put in front of it, I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this. And then we just did that. And like, you know, I'm like, oh wow, look at these trees. Oh my god, look, these are like little trees. They're so cute, and let the snow on them and everything. I don't even think we're not even barely thinking about the path that we're taking.
No, I don't care where we're going. I'm just happy to be there.
It's completely the full embodiment of like enjoy the journey and not even caring about the end destination.
Totally. I know I'm gonna do this hike, and I'm literally like, I'm just happy.
I just know I'm gonna feel so amazing doing this. That's all the entire thing I'm chasing, and then literally in 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, I feel so good.
Literally, like, and imagine if we approached our life like that, where you're like, I'm just happy to be here, and I know every morning I'm gonna trust my intuition, and I'm gonna do things that make me feel so good and so excited, and the action I take is gonna make me feel like, wow, I'm so happy to be here, this is so cool, instead of looking at the top and being like, why am I not there yet? Because, like, what a horrible way to hike. Like, I would hate if we hiked like that, like the are we there yet mindset. Like, the hike would feel forever. But that is, like, the one time in life where I really have never been like, are we done yet? Like, even with, like, exercises, I felt that way. Not hiking.
There's been one time I was the are we there yet, which is when we got lost in the White Mountains.
Okay, that one doesn't count.
And when we were hiking on the road, because the road wasn't really the safest place either. And so I was like, are we there yet? Are we there yet?
That one does not count. But, like, you know.
That I was here for the destination. I was going for the destination the entire time.
Well, we
still enjoyed it anyways, so...
We enjoyed the beginning parts of it. Yeah. Embody that mindset, and that is how you can get out of feeling stuck. Bada bing, bada boom. All right. Any final thoughts on how to control your impulses and find direction as a multi-passionate human?
No.
Yeah, I feel like that was a good note to leave it on. So thank you so much, everyone. Okay. So to end today's episode, usually we have client stories, but Victoria and I are shifting away from taking on lots and lots of clients. So I'm sure we have many, many stories from old clients that we should or could derive from, but we want to share aha moments that we're having throughout our week with you that maybe you can apply to your own life. So Victoria, what was your aha moment this week?
It kind of goes with like the type of thing of what we were talking about in the episode. But this morning I was every morning I'm trying to spend like the first 2 hours like Ashley off my phone. This morning, did I fell into a bit of 45 minutes on my phone right away? Yes. And then I was like, okay, Victoria, this didn't feel good, and I don't like when I do this. How can I still spend the rest hour and 15 minutes before like getting up and like recording? What can I do? And I cleaned off my car. I started laundry. I cleaned up the kitchen. I then was like, oh my God, we haven't got to like put music and just blasted that in the morning. And I was just dancing and feeling amazing and just getting ready. And I was just like having a moment of like, you have it all right now. Like, I know you're so worried about all of this stuff, but guess what? Like, this is so good right now. And you don't have to worry as much. And I really just appreciate everything I have. And it's, yeah.
Yeah.
I've just
I'm
been
happy
really
to be
happy.
here vibes. Okay, maybe our next piece of merch is going to say, I'm just happy to be here.
Because I think... no, because...
Does someone have that?
I think somebody might have that trademarked. Or it's like,
I'll Google it.
I'm happy you're here, because Anna Sitar she tried to put that on her merch, and then she like posted a picture of it, and then people were like, oh no, this girl has it trademarked already and everything, or it's like in trademark process, and there was an entire like scandal about that. Scandal. Or it's like it's very similar phrasing if it's not the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm happy you're here, or like, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know. I know how to look up trademarks. I went to business school. Anyways, but no, that is so true. I love that for you. Mine is kind of also around the same topic but a little different. Because like it's easy to feel stuck. And then the only thing, if you really think about it, that makes you feel stuck is you, because stuck is literally just that. It's just a feeling. You're never actually stuck doing anything anywhere at any time. And I was trying to figure out why I've been feeling stuck lately. And I think a lot of it has to do with like content I want to create and things I want to say, but I haven't been in the place to say them or in the mindset to say them, or I didn't feel confident saying them. And so if you're someone who feels stuck in your content or in your life, like, what really helped me this morning, it's funny because I did this morning too, is I made a list in my journal of like things I wish I could say, or maybe it's things you wish you could do, or things you wish you could tell people, and then just write it out and like let yourself go off on all the things you wish you could be saying, doing, and whatever. And at the end, pick one thing from the list and go say it, go do it, go post it, whatever that is, because a lot of reasons why we feel stuck is because we're denying our authentic self. And if you make a list of the things that you authentically want to say or do, you'll give yourself permission to pull that authentic self into the real world. So that is my advice, and that was my aha moment this morning. And I have a long list of content ideas, which is very exciting.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Damn. That's
there
good.
we go.
I like that. Yeah. Because, I think maybe it's the astrology, maybe it's a lot of things happening all at the same time, but ever since the lunar moon or whatever it was, I've been feeling good. And, I was supposed to reinvent my entire life. So, did I do that? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
And I feel great for it. And I feel like myself that I haven't felt in so long. Like, I was even thinking, like, this weekend, I was like, something I used to do and haven't done in a while is just, like, I would sing to bow and cannon to, like, do random things and just make up random songs on the spot or, like, sing them to get them to poop. And, like, I always made a joke when I was a kid that, like, my poop song just gets Cannon's butthole just ready to poop. And, like, maybe
you told me that about Bo one time.
Like, I have a poop song and everything. But I haven't been doing that in so long. And then this weekend, I just started doing it again. And I was like, oh, it's back. I'm back. It's so fun. And I made a song about Cocoa Puff Land and everything. And Bo is the emperor of Cocoa Puff Land. And he's just looking at me like a crazy. And it's just so fun.
Ma'am, that is called imagination.
I think it's coming back. I don't know.
That's imagination. That's really cool. I love that. And it's so funny because this weekend I kind of did that in a different silly way. Me and Adrian were like eating dinner together, and I don't know why, but I was like, I need to listen to classical music right now. Like, I need a symphony playing. I need like empowering orchestra vibes. Literally, I just turned it on and it was so fun. I just like danced to it, and I used to be in band, and I was like the drum major of my marching band, so I was like conducting to it, and then Adrian grabbed me and we started dancing to it, like, and he was swinging me around, and I was like, this is so fun. Like, these are the moments that we live for, like these joyful moments where you're being yourself, and you like, these were pings that we got, these were downloads, random intuitive ideas where you're like, I should start singing these songs again, or I was like, oh, I need to listen to classical music, or even you this morning where you're like, you know what, I should dance this morning. Like, that is trusting your intuition, which we talked about in my soul episode last week. Like, that is it. It doesn't make any sense. You're not going to get any necessary like monetary gain or gain in the physical world because we were dancing in our living rooms, but it brought us so much joy. And for you, it made you feel connected to your old self, which like, that is such a prize. That is such a treat to be like, I feel like me again. I feel that way too, because I feel like for a lot of winter, like last year when winter started, I was like, am I ever going to want to work again? Like, when am I going to feel like working? Like, I feel like I could never work again and I would be happy, and I hate that because I used to love work. And then like you, like this Monday, I was like, I am so excited it's back. Like, I have so much action to take. I feel so inspired. Like, I think I even wrote down in my notes app, like literally yesterday morning, for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to work and I'm excited about that. And it's just like, I think we had to do a lot of stuff to get to that place, but it does feel really, really refreshing.
Yeah, it just feels really nice. And I'm like, can this stay around? Like, this is cool. But then I was like, Victoria, you have the choice to keep this around. So what do we need to do to keep this around? And then yesterday we did so much stuff in the morning. And then I was like, guess what, Victoria? It's nap time. And then I napped. And then I went and played in the snow because it snowed a lot later and everything. It was so fun. And I was just like, I'm still working. I'm still getting things done. But I'm having so much fun when I can and while I'm doing it. And how do I keep doing this every single day? And I danced this morning, and then I'm going cycling later and everything. And it's just like, how can you really just start doing this every single day? And because I'd be like, oh, I always love those moments. I want more of those moments in my life. And it's like, that's a choice. You have to put those in there.
Yeah, totally. I feel that. Yeah, me and Max played in the snow last night, and while it was actively snowing, and I was like, I don't care. I'm going out there. And you know what's funny? That made me think in that moment of like a good metaphor. You know when it's raining outside and like you have your umbrella and you're like really grossed out by the rain and like you're trying really hard not to get wet and it's like feels kind of frustrating, but then like the minute you decide like I'm gonna go in the rain and like you let it fall on you and you let it feel good, like that is life. Like you have the choice of going into life like being like, ew, icky, these problems are happening, why is it all coming down, I'm trying to avoid it. Or you can be like, this is my life, I'm gonna embrace it, there's some rain coming down, what do I want to do about it? Like, how am I gonna make the most of this moment right now? Do I want to live in fear and shame, or do I want to choose joy in whatever way that means to me? And I choose joy. That's me. I choose joy.
Yeah. Because I was like, okay, there's not enough snow. I was like, let's let it snow a little bit more, Bo. And then I was like, and then let me put on my thermals and go outside and let's go have fun. And I literally was like, I put on shitty pants because I was like, I'm going to go fall in the snow and just do random things with you and everything. And there were kids playing out and Bo was chasing them and everything and having so much fun. And I was like, oh, this is fun.
Aw, yeah. Max had so much fun that he didn't even want to play fetch. He just wanted to hold the ball and he just ran around in the snow. He did not care about
I didn't even bring anything out. Bo just like, he's just like, in the snow, and then in the snow. And he's just like, and then he's just like running around and everything. And I'm just like, this is so fun. Let's run together and everything. And then like so running cute. Back and forth. And then he pounces on me and pushes me over.
Also, your theory of like every day it snows, the sun comes out after is true. It's sunny. And I am so excited to go for a walk right now. Anyways, okay, well, here's some final announcements we have for you all. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Please like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, tell us what you liked about it, and make sure you connect with us on the Living Adventures Co. Instagram and TikTok. We have so many cool things coming out. We've been posting consistently quotes to motivate you and inspire you throughout your week. They've been getting shared like crazy pants, so make sure you go follow us there.
I want to start something.
Okay.
In a coaching session, the way we end coaching sessions is what was your aha, appreciation, or insight from the session?
Yeah.
I want you all to go on a video, a thing, whatever, or DM us, and I want you to tell us what was your aha, insight, or appreciation from this episode. Or in the Discord, wherever you want.
Yeah, go in the Discord, comment on social media, somewhere. Yeah,
do
just
something.
Like our coaching sessions. Same thing. I asked, like, what was your biggest takeaway, breakthrough, like, aha moment?
What was your biggest aha moment, and what is the step that you're taking forward? So it's an accountability step.
Tell
because
us.
That's all really coaching is. Like, honestly, the thing you're really paying for is, like, an accountability partner and somebody to, like, guide you through your decision-making process. So we just guided you a little bit through your decision-making process if maybe you're making a decision on some of this stuff. So what was your aha, and what is your one step that you're going to take this coming week and whatever?
I love it. Yeah, share it with us. We'll hold you accountable in the Discord. We got a community over there. They were just talking this morning about last week's solo episode. So go hang out in there. 2 more things. Tonight is our event in Boston. So if you want to sign up for that and there's still tickets available, you technically could. But more so than the event in Boston, our merch is available. And you probably heard an ad about that mid-roll, but if you're watching on video, Victoria and I are both wearing our Selectively Social hoodies. So we have our Selectively Social hoodie, our It's Not You, It's My Needs crew neck, and our 98% Sober hat. Those are our first collection dropped. So go check those out. Support us by buying merch and being part of our community. One thing I've been saying about the merch is that we're embracing you to embrace. We're empowering you to embrace your authentic self. We're embracing you to embrace. That doesn't make sense. Anyways, we're empowering you to embrace your authentic self. And our authentic selves are Selectively Social, drink only 2% of the time, and set boundaries. So this is just the beginning of all that. Anything else?
Oh yeah, this is not you, it's my needs. And I need to now create more merch because people always said when you create merch, then it's all you're going to wear. And I was like, I'm not like those people because you know how I never do what everyone says you're going to do. Yeah. Well, I have decided now I am like that. And I
think we need shirts and
we need to make
sleeves.
More. And now I'm like, do I just make a whole-on clothing brand? Because that's the ADHD way, guys. Remember, like, take it all the way. But we're not creating
Victoria,
a whole clothing brand
Victoria, you tell me when, and I will apply for that grant. If you tell me we are investing that grant in clothes, I will write that out and we will go get the money to buy the clothes.
I don't want to be responsible for designing all clothes right now.
You know, two things. Pick two, Ashley. Pick two. I'm
two.
Panera. Pick two. Clothing line in the future. Merch drop is like, that was one. Anyways.
Merch and clothing line are two different things. So
yeah.
It's merch drop now. We are picking two things and we have 3 pieces. And because, we said, you do not need a lot of things to start. You can start small. And so, sure, one day, will we have a bunch of things? Yeah, baby, probably. But you don't have to today.
Yeah. I will also say that we are totally here to be your temporarily embarrassed millionaires. So that way you too can start doing new things in small ways, even if it feels embarrassing. You know?
Can I just tell you about how ugly the design of this Dyson remote is? Sorry. All I think about is design. I'm so sorry, everybody. My brain
Anyways,
is corrupt.
I have to pee, so that's
Same.
it for today's episode. Victoria's going to come walk with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.